Hi everyone, this is Dakota Lily again, coming to you with another segment of my series on Venezuela, analyzing news, opinions, blogs, finances, etc. of stuff coming out of Venezuela. Let's go right into it. Okay, an article from Venezuela Analysis on November 3rd highlights, I'm looking at the article on my phone, I'm not on Twitter, states that 6 men in Venezuela were arrested. These people were not just any men, though. They were top Citgo executives. In case you don't know, Citgo, C-I-T-G-O, is the American subsidiary of Venezuela's PDVSA, which is the state-owned oil company. Yes, so every time you go to Citgo in the United States, that money is going to the state of Venezuela. Now, this is important for a few things. The first major thing this arrest signifies is the new campaign against corruption in Venezuela. Hugo Chavez talked about a revolution within the revolution before he died, talking about, getting rid of certain elements of inter-party workings and things like that, and the main thing he was talking about was corruption. The new Attorney General of Venezuela, who took over from Luisa Ortega, who is now God knows where, spewing lies, has kind of been a crusader against corruption in Venezuela. There have been more trials recently for corruption, including celebrities that are supporters of the government, executives at Citgo, which is obviously, a branch of the state in a way. There have been more trials of people in Venezuela. Under this new Attorney General than there has been in the last, few years under Luisa Ortega Diaz. Now, the new Attorney General's name is Tarek William Saab. He is a Chavista, a member of the PSUV, and is leading this crusade against corruption. These 6 Citgo executives are accused of embezzlement and misdealing in a refinancing deal of certain bonds. So this once again signifies a big new current in Venezuela, which is this battle against corruption, which is being led by the government. The Attorney General also accused the executives of, quote, acting in the service of a foreign power against the country, end quote. Obviously, he's talking about the United States, or the Empire. One of the directors of an intermediary firm in Switzerland is mentioned in the Panama Papers. The Attorney General is alleging that this intermediary company and the Citgo executives shared a link with the aim of further embezzling state funds. So, once again, I think this is a new trend in Venezuelan politics, a new trend in Venezuelan society that I think is a little overdue, but has really ramped up in the last few months and is much needed, this new fight against corruption. The elections, the municipal elections are coming up in Venezuela on December 10th. Mayoralities will be chosen. They're mainly mayoral elections. And a poll by the independent pollster Hinterlaces indicates that 71% of Venezuelans support the calling of these elections. Further, 77% of the Venezuelan public believes that the opposition is incorrect in boycotting these elections. Imagine in the United States if a party just boycotted an election, saying, we just disagree with you that much that we're just not going to participate in an election. That would be crazy, and it's just as crazy in Venezuela, except with the added benefit that in Venezuela, the opposition, instead of elections, calls forth the throwing of Molotovs, the setting on fire of people, and the bombing of hospitals. So that's, again, this will be... I'm losing track of the amount of elections that Venezuela has had. I've never heard of such a dictatorship holding so many elections and winning over and over and over again in clean, certified elections by international observers. It's truly ridiculous when people consider the United States a democracy, but Venezuela not a democracy. In Venezuela, the people have the power. There's an entire organization of people's power from the grassroots. Here it's the exact opposite. It's corporate, oligarchic democracy for the rich. According to the survey, this is again on Venezuela analysis, 59% of Venezuelans also believe that the move to hold the two sets of elections, including the elections for governors, has contributed to reaching a climate of, quote, peace and stability in the country. Now, that's another thing I want to talk about. Now that the ANC, the National Constituent Assembly, has assembled, the protests have kind of subsided slightly, and they have recently passed a new law, a new hate crime law, and it is extremely inclusive and extensive. It protects people for their sexual orientation, for their political ideology, for their skin color, for their national origin, and it includes provisions to stop the spread of hate, something that I think, is needed in the United States. We have people who are given such platforms in this country that call for such hateful violence against people. Fortunately, we haven't quite gotten to the point where people are being set on fire en masse, as in Venezuela, but nevertheless, this hate continues to flourish, and that must be combated. And in Venezuela, they are combating that, and yet they get condemned for it. Also, in the National Constituent Assembly's agenda, they have recently approved a new price control law. The headline says, quote, known as the Constitutional Law of Agreed Prices, the law authorizes authorities to reach agreements with industry representatives on maximum sale prices for key staples. This is important, obviously, because inflation is notoriously high in Venezuela. I'm not going to get into all the details as to why that is. That'll be another video completely. But things are not always as simple as it seems, and this is not caused by the normal neoclassical economic explanations for inflation. This is not caused by high wages. This is not caused by, whatever, neoclassical economists are saying it is caused by. This is causing this problem. This problem is pervasive. It's been a problem since 2013, which is when the economic war has started. Inflation was not a problem during Chavez. Inflation rates actually from pre-Chavez to during Chavez have been relatively stable and relatively the same level, but it started to ramp up in 2013 after the election of Nicolas Maduro. This new price control law is it's one of the 8 laws that Nicolas Maduro proposed to the ANC to combat the economic war, and I am very hopeful that these new laws will continue to do that. A lot of people on the left even advocate for ending price controls on certain staple items, but I just don't think people understand just how adversely that would affect working class people in Venezuela. In Argentina, now that Macri is president, the cost of natural gas for homes has gone up 350%, transportation prices have gone up 10%, food has shot up drastically. There was a woman actually in Buenos Aires that just murdered her baby, and the explanation she gave was because she is unemployed and she's unable to feed her baby, and she didn't want her baby to continue suffering, so she strangled her. Very, very sad reality for these people in neoliberal regimes. And that is certainly not the solution to certain problems in Venezuela. Let's see, what else is going on in Venezuela? Venezuela has also written off, it was, I believe, $100 million of debt that was owed by, I believe, the Dominican Republic. That's interesting, considering the fact that the United States is still hounding Puerto Rico for their sovereign debt crisis, which again was caused by neoliberalism. Now that they've been hit by a hurricane and the country still remains largely without electricity and without basic necessities, the United States has shown no such goodwill as Venezuela was willing to show to the Dominican Republic. I think that will be the end of this video for now. I'm going to make another video in the coming days. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. I will link all the articles that I have mentioned in the description or the status, whatever platform I'm using. And please share, comment, whatever. All right, thank you. This has been Dakota Lily.